Welcome to humanity's Vanguard HFY and Sci-Fi stories, where alien empires discover, far too late, why humans should never be underestimated. The warlord who believed he held Earth in his claws learned the truth only after his fleet began dying around him silently, invisibly, and all at once. Supreme Overseer Vrexilian of the Drath Enclave stood before the panoramic viewport of his Leviathan flagship, the Dominion Spear, observing Earth's swirling blue-white sphere with the arrogance of a conqueror who believed the battle already won. Behind him, arranged with mathematical precision, floated 10,000 Drath war arcs, each a mountain-sized behemoth of alloyed bone and living metal. For the Enclave, this was not merely an invasion, it was a demonstration of absolute dominion. Earth would be stripped of resistance, harvested, and folded into the Drath Order. Open the planetary channel, Vrexilian commanded, his four-plated arms spreading in ceremonial triumph. The Hala display shimmered, revealing a human officer in a charcoal uniform marked with the crest of the Terran Planetary Guard. Commander Leora Hale appeared unfazed, as though she were addressing diplomatic traffic rather than an armada capable of sterilizing continents. When Vrexilian spoke, his amplified voice vibrated through the Cumare. People of Earth, I am Vrexilian the Certain. 10,000 war arcs surround your fragile sphere. No reinforcements. No hidden armories. No hope. Surrender, and some of your kind may be spared. Commander Hale took a sip from a small metal mug, caffeine extract, Drath linguistics interpreted. She set it down with deliberate calm. You had 10,000. For the first time, Vrexilian's confidence wavered. The plates along his spine stiffened. Explain your insolence, he snarled. Commander Hale lifted a fingertip-sized tablet and tapped it once. Current count is 9,728. And falling, at that exact moment, alarms erupted across the Dominion Spear Deep, resonant howls that Drath culture associated only with existential catastrophe. Vrexilian spun toward his tactical holomap. Red glyph symbols of ship failure began appearing in clusters across the fleet formation. One, then three, then entire formations blinking out of operational status. Impossible, he hissed. Identify the cause. His bridge crew scaled, disciplined, bred for war scrambled to interpret the cascading failures. Overseer, we detect chaotic resonance patterns. Expanding across the fleet. Reactors destabilizing. Hull symbiotes ceasing response. Weapon spines failing to prime, the officer's voice trembled, a sound unheard among Drath warriors. Commander Hale leaned forward slightly, her expression maddeningly serene. Did you really think Earth came unprepared? You saw no shipyards because we didn't build anything large enough for you to target. Another cluster of war arcs blinked red. 9,600. 9,550. 9,510. The cascade was accelerating, and the Drath bridge fell into panic as their invincible armada unraveled in real time. WHAT have you done? Vrexilian roared, his voice cracking the air membranes lining the ceiling. Hale answered with the tone of a teacher explaining basic geometry. We seeded the solar system with quantum dust phantoms. Microscopic autonomous defense motes, each no larger than a pollen grain. The Drath murmured in horror. The word phantom in their tongue implied something that could not be hunted. Millions of them, Hale continued, invisible to your scanners. Harmless unless activated, she tapped her device again. Your ships passed through clouds of them as you approached. They latched onto your organic hull masses, your reactor glands, your neural weapon spines. And then they waited, Vrexilian hissed, mandibles flaring. You dare employ parasitic micro-warfare on a grand fleet? We dare survive, Hale replied. The tactical display now showed entire Drath spearheads flickering out. 9,200. 9,050. 8,990. Systems darkened. Gravity fields failed. The Dominion Spear shook as its own internal symbiotes spasmed in protest. Humanity learned early, Hale said, that giants fall the hardest. We don't build colossi. We build tools that make colossi useless. You cannot neutralize a fleet of this magnitude. Vraxillian howled, gripping the railing as the artificial gravity sputtered. Watch me, Hale said. She pressed another unseen command. The Dominion spear lurched violently as entire sections of its biometallic superstructure went dormant. Lights guttered to emergency red. Warriors stumbled as breathing vents faltered. Even Vraxillian's throne lost magnetic anchoring, forcing him to lock his claws into the armrests to keep from drifting. Your flagship now sits on emergency life support, Hale narrated. 6 hours of breathable atmosphere. Engines, cold. Weapons, inert. Defensive membranes collapsed. She allowed the weight of her words to settle. Every vessel in your formation is now equally stranded. Vraxillian stared at his display as 10,000 war arcs, monuments to Drath supremacy, reduced to a drifting cloud of helpless titans. He had expected resistance, perhaps a small fleet. But this island, surgical annihilation. This was something else. Something terrifying. Here is what follows, Hale continued, voice hardening. You will order immediate jettison of all weapon spines into open space. Then you will accept tow lines from our orbital bastions. You will be escorted to the outer system. There, she continued, you will transfer to minimal life capsules. Your war arcs will be dismantled for raw material. Consider it reparations. Vraxillian's voice cracked into a whisper. This violates every law of war. This is the law of war, Hale said. The one written by those who survive. Another wave of cascading red symbols washed across the display. 8,750. 8,600. 8,470. Drath warriors who had never known fear now stared at their overseer with wide, trembling eyes. Vraxillian felt the crushing realization settle. There was no countermeasure. No glorious last strike. No calling for reinforcements because Drath doctrine had insisted none would be needed. Do you understand now? Hale asked softly. Humanity doesn't win through strength. We win through obsession. Through the kind of ingenuity born from centuries of fighting with nothing but grit and desperation, as if to punctuate her words, the Dominion spear's central core gave a mournful groan as its living reactor finally shut down. Make your decision, Commander Vraxillian, Hale said. You have 2 minutes. If you do not begin disarmament, we vent your atmospheres remotely. Silence swallowed the Drath bridge. Warriors exchanged frantic glances, searching for defiance, for courage, for a plan any plan, but their overseer had none. His mighty fleet, engineered across centuries, had been undone not by force, but by dust, by microscopic ghosts designed by a species the Enclave considered primitive. Vraxillian felt something shattering inside him, not just pride, but worldview. Humans were not weak. They were voracious survivors, creatures who turned limitations into weapons sharper than any Drath blade. Finally, he bowed his head. Transmit. The disarmament order, he rasped. All war arcs. All formations across the void. 10,000 Titanic warships once the terror of entire sectors began ejecting their weapon spines, their living cannons, their dread lances. The space around Earth glittered with drifting armaments, a scrapyard of humiliation. Commander Hale watched without expression. Good, she said. Once you are safely escorted out system, you will not return. Vraxillian's voice trembled. You will spare us? Hale looked directly into the holofeed. Only because you finally listened. As tow lines extended from Earth's defense platform sleek, unassuming constructs the Drath had dismissed as debris, Vraxillian absorbed the final, devastating truth. Humanity had never needed 10,000 warships. They had built something far more dangerous, 10,000 ways to win without them. Commander Hale picked up her metal mug again. Tell your enclave, she said, that humans don't survive because we're strong. She sipped, then set it down with soft finality. We survive because we refuse to die conveniently. The transmission cut. The dominant spear drifted powerlessly, pulled by human tow lines like a fallen god being dragged from its altar. And in that moment, Vrexilian understood Earth was not prey. It was a world of monsters, brilliant, stubborn, unyielding monsters who turned the impossible into routine. And the galaxy would never be the same. If you enjoyed this HFY story, subscribe to Humanity's Vanguard HFY and Sci-Fi stories. New cinematic HFY episodes drop constantly, and trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next.